Hey guys, we are running late tonight, but we're here and I just need to check something out. Right, okay, here we go. I'm not 100% sure what to work on tonight. Now, until we get our animations sorted out and in line, then we're kind of knackered here. Now, what I can do is probably put this back. Okay. And with that in mind, I'm probably going to have to put our blend space back in our walk run. Okay. Which is this thing here. Right, let's see what this does, because earlier on it was mucking us up, right? That seems to work. But what we need to do right, so that's hitting well. Okay, so that is working. Now, what we need to do now is we need to do this in the idle walk, right? And this thing here needs to have a 0. Okay. So like this has to have the forward walking 1 here. Okay, and then when we do that, what we need to do is in our pawn, and I think I'm going to have to get this bigger for you guys, right? That's you guys not telling me again, to make it a bit clearer, right? So we're going to look at this and then we're going to decide on our right. So when we do that, we are basically just in front of our eyes, okay, and that fires perfectly straight, which is, it doesn't fire exactly perfectly straight, right, because there is a little bit of nuance to the left and right. It randomly gives us a little shot, right? It gives us a little bit of randomness in each of the different axes. But what we want to do now is, in our camera, if we pull it back a bit, we want to see where our camera is in relation to the player. Okay? And if we zero it out there, right, we can see we don't want it there in particular. Okay? But we can have a look and see where we are. Okay, we can now see that we are in no way related to our character. Okay, and this is the thing that's causing us a big huge issue. Right? So we can kind of look and see here that things aren't looking good. Right? Now, what that basically means is quite simple, and that is that this is okay, but our other blend is not. Right, this one is just not. It's not lining up at all. Right? So if we take that one off and press play, it should be kind of more like what we want, which it is. We did hit ourselves in the head, of course. Now, what we could do here right, is move our camera up a bit, and then once again back a bit. Oof. Well, that's way too high. Oopsie daisy. Right, so that should be nowhere near there. right? And the problem here that actually works. You can see there that she's not yeah, I think I'm actually quite happy with that. Right. I'm still not convinced. Ah, that's one of those weird things, isn't it? That doesn't die if we shoot it. But anyway, yeah. We're quite... I'm quite happy with that. Yeah. That does kind of work. Because it definitely gives the idea that you're shooting straight, right? Which is one of the main things here. And we are definitely shooting in a realistic manner. As you can see. So that's actually pretty cool. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is I've had a realization. It's going to be in our pawn, right? And it's going to be in our struct main attributes. We're going to add a couple of variables. and we're going to have max energy. Right, we've got energy, we need max energy. Right, that's going to be a float. Then we're going to move it up next to our energy. Now the question is, do we need hunger and max hunger? I mean, we can do it in the clamping as normal, but really we should have a max, right? But we'll worry about that later. But what we want to do is, as she loses energy, she's going to slow down. Okay, so we're basically going to have, we've got min speed, we've got max speed, right? And what we're going to actually do is need a new variable called current speed. Or, in fact, it should be current max speed. Okay, and it should go there. So you've got a min speed, a current max speed, and a max speed. Okay. And this is going to be calculated each time either A, we change the weight carried, or our energy. Okay, so as she becomes tired without sleep, right, our max speed will decrease. Or let's say, yeah, our current max speed. In fact, we should just call it current speed, right? It is current max speed, but we'll just call it that. So it can never go below 100, it can never go above 300, right? But it can be somewhere in between depending on the weight carried and the energy, current energy. Ryan, thank you for the question. It's a survival thriller. I wouldn't call it horror, I would call it thriller. Set in a Viking setting. And this is just a test map for me to basically work on logic and mechanics. So you don't see very much here. I can show you the actual start of the game if you would like. And since I'm not really focused on anything in particular tonight, we may as well have a look. So here we go. So this will take a second to load up. right? Or the designer's working on the animations to go with the what do you call it? The oars. So they'll be rowing the boat basically. So this is gradually getting worked on. So every kind of day or so when I see it, it changes slightly to be better. And then it switches to the character. And you can see now this carries on. And then basically you can start. Okay. And then you get things like this. So you can see that there's a deformation of the snow. Right, so if I walk through the snow, right, then you can do that. The overlaps on those have to get tightened up a bit, I would suggest. Right, and then you can come down here, and this is the docks. Now these guys are all going to be walking about and stuff. It's just we're using certain objects at the moment to look at things. What's that? Right, okay. Whatever. But you can see here that our stuff is all working there. And yeah, we probably need those things tightened up. There used to be a sequence here with these birds, but apparently it's been taken out. Right, and then basically yeah, I've got the start of it working now. That's what we were working on yesterday to get the correct messages and stuff. Right, but what I think needs to be done here is, well, there's a couple of things actually. In here, this widget isn't actually big enough. Right? This should actually be, let's say, there, like that. Right? And no, it's not done in the way you think it's done. It's not actually throwing a whole load of particles on the screen. It only does it in a certain section of where you are. Right? So it isn't throwing particles across the whole universe. It's just actually throwing particles where you are. It's quite a sneaky way to do it. I used it in my previous game. That basically I just throw particles in front of the camera, right? So where you think it's snowing everywhere, it's actually not. It's only snowing in front of the camera, right? It's a cheap trick, but it's perfectly serviceable and works. So basically what we need is this, right, to be wrapped with a size box, okay? And I believe, I'm just going to check here. I believe it's in, I'm not sure if it's in here or not, but we'll check. Right. It's this bit here. Yeah, it should work in multiplayer as well. So in here we're going to wrap this in a size box, okay? So these are going to resize to fit within here. Okay, so the text, if there's a lot of text, it's going to size to the correct size. Okay. So if I press play again, we can test this. Now, throwing it in front of the camera is not exactly what they do, right? But it's a similar idea. And I believe this is the frame rate here without any optimization per se at the moment, right? I believe this is it. This wasn't me that put this print screen up, so I don't know what's actually doing the print screen at the moment, but I believe that that is probably the frame rate. right? So we're hitting 45, over 40, which is okay, right? For this particular type of game. Right. How come we're not getting a... Ah, okay. What's going on there? Right, okay. Right. As I said, these the collision on these need tightened up a whole lot. But the thing I'm wanting to see here is if that other thing has been sorted out and if our size box has actually fixed the problem. Right now, I think it was here, wasn't it? Yeah. Right. So there's something going on that the size box is not actually working. Right, but I need to find out what we're actually showing there. If it is that, or did I actually update that not to use subtitles but use something else, which is a distinct possibility. Ah, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It isn't a size box. Right. It's a scale box. Right. I got the wrong one there, guys. Sorry about that. We need to do the same with this one. So this size box isn't right. It's a scale box I want. Right, so this size box can go and this can get wrapped in a scale box. Okay. Right. Let's try that again, shall we? Because that was a bit stupid. Right. this is going to stutter for a second because I'm just going to click on the other screen to take something out of the way. Right, so that's not. Ah, that's what I thought would happen. Right, so we're going to have a look at this and make sure that it fills up the whole blooming thing. Hi, Screen Apple, how are you, bud? Right, so now we've got control. Right, I'm just going to run straight past everything. Now, this is obviously now going to work, right? But I'm not happy with it. I is not happy at all. Right, did I? Yeah. And this is only how you find out how things are actually running. Right, I'm hoping now that this is not the frame rate. I actually don't think it is the frame rate, right? I think it's actually the sequence running and how long the sequence has got to go or something. Right, so you'll notice that that's not really working very good. And that's because I'm an idiot, of course. I added the size box here, right? The scale box, but I didn't anchor it properly. Right. And what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to work out where we need to split the text. Right? How many characters we need to split? How many characters in the box before we do a new line, basically, is the point, right? Because then that should make it work properly. So we're going to have to work that out. Right. So we can try this, right? And I can get it to do it faster than that as well. Right, so this thing here, right? We're going to have our text. right? And we can do our text wrapping, and let's say do it at 50, right? Now, the next thing I can do here is if I click on this, I can change the delay time down to like 5 seconds, so it will start showing it straight away, right? Then we can see the actual effect of what's going on. And whoa, that ain't too much fun. Okay. So oh, wait a minute. Did I probably screw that up? Well, I'll need to take a look. Let's have a look at this again. It's over here now. Well, that ain't good. The scale box. Right, so that's okay. That's okay, that's okay. Is it being caused by that? I don't think so. Unless we're not reading that properly. By which I mean the 50 doesn't mean 50 characters. Right, because so that's, yeah. I would say that's going to be about 100. And I'm at, right, just hang on a second here. What we're going to do is we're not going to do anything with this, right? I'm going to delete this scale box, right? And I'm going to delete it out the other one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my colleague the number of characters that we want in our boxes, the maximum number we can take, right? And then we're going to have to work out something, right? So I'm going to delete that. Now the interesting thing would be that rock right? But I don't know where it is. And we obviously need to re-anchor this. Okay, I mean, the thing is, we could get the text, right? And then we could calculate how many characters it is, right? And then basically, if it's, you know, if it's less than 50, we do this font, you know, this size, basically, and scale it up depending on the number of characters. Now, under normal circumstances, just for a button, a scale box is perfect for that, right? But for these, not so much. Right, we are going to have to maybe do the calculations, or either that, or we have to make, as I said, the font scale to the number of characters. And on that, guys, I am going to grab a quick cigarette. If you're enjoying the stream, hit like and subscribe. I only need 3 more subscribers to hit 750, and that would be fantastic if you guys could get me there. It would be all your guys' achievement. So check out the description for links to the game's Discord, my personal Discord, my Patreon, and my previous game on Steam, and I shall be back in 2 minutes. Well, actually 5. Right guys, we're back. And let's carry on with this, shall we? So that's all working nicely, right? We're going to put this back to 55. Then we're going to go back to our test map. Okay, and the thing we're going to work on now is when we update the clock, we want to update. Actually, you know what? We've got that on the pawn anyway. We've got an update stats, right? There's definitely an update stats somewhere. It might be a function, it's not going to be there. Right, calc thirst values, calc hunger values. So it's definitely something to do with this. Where this is called. Right. So if we find the references for this. We're doing it here. Okay. But we're definitely doing it in our begin play somewhere we basically start it off. Okay. I went and pressed that back button again. Right, so we're going to need to do some stuff with this. Update HUD. Right. Update HUD is a good update main attributes. Okay. So what we're going to do here is basically hide the HUD and stop it updating at some point. So we're going to first look for update main attributes. And this is it here, okay? And this is our energy. Okay. Now, what we can say here is we can get this value and we can say if it's less than or equal to 50, right, we can branch here. In fact, you know what we'd be best doing is doing another function. There's the actual update main attributes. Hi Stormrun, how you doing? Right, so what we're going to do is another function, and we're going to call it update current walk speed. Okay, and then what we'll say is nothing there, right? We're going to get our main attributes. We're going to break them. We're going to get these two, and we're going to get energy. Okay. So if we do this and divide it by this, right, then we say if it's less than 50, we do something, and then if we take this and then we take away this, and then if this is less than, right, say that's less than 15, okay, and then we're going to create a local variable in our function called temp walk speed, and that's going to be a float. Okay, so we're going to branch that, right, and we're going to add a couple of new variables, and we're going to call it energy factor, then we're going to add another one, and we're going to call it weight factor, okay, And then you know what? I think I'll do this as a percentage as well. Okay, and that is actually going to be 0.5. And this one is actually going to be if it's greater than. Right? So we'll say by default 0.75. Okay. So if that is true, I'm just spitballing this in my head, by the way, how I'm going to calculate this. What I really want here is like a factor, right? So the lower this number is, the higher effect it's going to have on your speed, right? So basically we're going to do this minus right, and it's going to be 1 minus that and that we can multiply. We'll do this one at a time, right? So we're going to multiply a float by a float, right? We're going to get the max speed and multiply it by that. This kinda isn't going to work, but we'll do this as a first try. Okay. And we're going to get our main attributes again. We're going to set members instruct. Okay, and we're going to get our current speed and we're going to put that there. Right, so we're going to delete that and we're actually going to plug that in there. Right, now it's going to give us some fairly freakish results to start with. but that's okay. And that's going to go there. Right. And then what we'll do is we'll print string. We'll print that. Then we'll get our character movement. And we're going to set max walk speed. Right. And we're also going to set that to this. Okay. So in theory, as our energy drops, our maximum walk speed is also going to drop. Okay. But on our test map, we're going to have to change the speed of time right. We've got it at 0.2. We need to set it to 1. Right, so time is going to run 5 times faster. And these all run on the time, I think. Right. So as these drop, these other ones are going to get updated. Right, as long as this one drops. Ah, wait a minute. We need to go back to our update main stats. Right. This is updating the widgets. Okay, it's an event dispatcher. And what we're going to do now is we're going to say update current walk speed. Okay, we'll turn this into a pure. Or will we? Debatable. Right. Let's see how this works out for us. Now I'm not sure here what's printing that countdown. Unless it is update stats, which actually it probably will be. And apparently I can't walk. Right, So this, I believe, is for storm run, right? If he doesn't know already. Debugging. Okay, I know there's a lot of rookie guys out there still that have just started using this, right? I want to find out if this is ever saying false. What you do is right click and add breakpoint, right? You'll find it down here, add breakpoint. Okay, now whenever this hits this line of code, it's going to stop. Okay, and we can check values, etc. Right, so there we go. Okay, it's hit that value. It's currently 0. Right. So if we are multiplying this, it's going to be 0. So our basic walk speed is going to be 0. Okay. So we need to actually know what this value is and what this value is. Okay. So we can look at it here, and you can notice that our max energy is 0. Okay. So we need to go into our pawn, then get this, and our max energy is going to be 100. And now we should actually get somewhere. Right, so it's breaked there, and we get 0.98, so it's not less than 0.5. Okay, so this is going to go false. Right, so we don't really want it to break there anymore, so we disable that. Okay, but what we'll do is we shall add, well, actually, if we just resume, right, you can see we can walk. And we can continue to walk a reasonable speed here. It's not changing anything at the moment. I'm actually not 100% sure why this is actually printing this out, because it should be false. Right, now this is where our actual speed is going to be affected. Right, we're down to 118. Right, see how we're slowing right down? And we're gradually getting slower and slower. Right, where we can hardly move until we basically get to 0. Right, so that works. Okay, it works. But what we need to do is maybe add another factor here. But what we actually need to do is clamp this. Right? And we clamp it between the minimum speed and the maximum speed. Right? So we only ever get a minimum of 100 and we only ever get a maximum, not that this affects this at all, but we only ever get a maximum of 300. We only ever get a minimum of 100. Okay. Now, as I said, this is going to be affected by energy and by weight carried. Okay. So there's that. So if we press play again, right, we should be able to walk no problem. Right, we can walk about. Do we do? We can tweak these numbers once we get the basic functionality in, which we nearly have. Right, we can tweak these numbers and decide what is going to start at, what is going to stop at, what the factoring is going to be. But now we should be beginning to slow down. Right, we're down at 130. Right, we're now at 100 and that's the peak of it. Okay, so that's the slowest we can go. Okay, now we could do it that once she hits that kind of speed and that kind of energy, she actually stops using the normal walk and goes into like a crawl. Right, but that's like a different thing, right? But as you see, these factor numbers aren't going to be quite right to start with, and this here needs to change as well, right? Because basically it's that minus, maybe, it's an idea. If she loses all her energy, right, etc., and she's totally hungry, then it would kind of make sense right? So this is the one for weight, okay? Now, the interesting thing here is I'm going to have to come up with a way of calculating this because yeah, storm run, that's perfectly normal. Right? Now, because basically if you end up in this situation where you're down to less than 50% of your energy, right? What we're going to have to do is basically, if it's this and this, right? If this right, the maximum weight carried is 25 kilograms, right? So if this minus this is less than 0, right? We are basically overburdened. Okay, so if that's the case, we multiply this right? By minus 1. Okay, and then what we do is we get, that gives us the difference of how overburdened they are, right? And then we multiply it by 10. So if you're completely overburdened, right? So basically the maximum weight you can carry is 40, right? So what we want to do is basically stop them being able to move at 40, okay? Which is 15. Sorry, wait a minute. It's 200. Okay, so 200 divided by 15 is 12. Let's say 12.5. Okay, and that is the number that we stop them or we lower the current speed by. So then what we do is we get our maximum speed and we say minus this number here. So if we're like, I'll show you what I mean here, right? If you can't have any more than 40, right? So a normal person can carry comfortably 25 kilograms, okay? If you, comfortably, right? The maximum somebody can normally carry is 40, right? Now that's, they're not going to be able to do that for any length of time or whatever, right? But my point being that this is going to slow them to basically a crawl, okay? So if we get a calculator out, right? So we say you're 15 kilograms over weight, right? You multiply it by the -1 because this is actually going to be -15, right? Then you multiply it by 12.5, you get 187, right? So we need it to be slightly more than that, right? So as long as it's we could, yeah, so do it by 13, right? So we'll cancel that. So we'll say 15 multiplied by 13. It's not quite even there yet. So it looks like 13.5. Right? So it's 13.5 multiplied by 15. Right, it's just over, so that's fine. Right, because we're going to clamp it anyway. Right, but that's what we want. So we get our negative value because it's the maximum weight minus the actual weight. Right, if it's less than 0, then we do this calculation and then we take this number away from this number and we set the new walk speed as this number, okay? Now, I'm going to have to work out the logic here of if you're being slowed down by this and this, right? Because when you think about it, the logic of it, if this is already at the minimum speed, then this should basically stop you altogether, right? And say you are overburdened because of the lack of energy and the amount you're carrying, right? So I'm going to have a look at that as well and work out how to actually do it. But I think that's going to be for the next stream, guys, right? Because I'm going to have to sit down and do some paperwork on this and do some calculations and stuff, right? Which ain't a great thing to do on a stream. So if you've enjoyed the stream and you want me to see me have get to 750 subscribers, hit the like and subscribe button. if you haven't already. I appreciate the guys who have, and I appreciate anybody wandering by and taking a look. But I shall be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. Check out the links in the description to the Discord and for the game, and my personal Discord, to the Patreon where you can support the channel, and finally to my previous game on Steam, a tower defense game which is on sale for $1. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye bye for now.